The patrol ship Xerinth moved quietly along the edge of the neutral zone. Its metal body shimmered under the dim light of the nearby stars. It was just another routine scan. Nothing ever happened this far out. At least, that's what most thought. Lieutenant Koros sat in the command chair, legs crossed, fingers tapping. He was young, proud, and eager to make a name for himself. His father was a war hero. His older brother commanded 2 battle cruisers. Koro had something to prove. A soft chime echoed across the bridge. A sensor officer turned toward him. "Unidentified vessel detected," she said. Koro leaned forward. "Show me." On the main screen, a small object appeared, a human probe, slowly moving near an asteroid belt. Koro's eyes narrowed. "Is it armed?" "No weapons detected," the officer replied. "No shields either, just a signal beacon and camera arrays. Any crew?" "No, it's automated." Koro smiled. "And it's in restricted space. Just on the edge," someone said. "Could be a mistake." Koro didn't care. This was a chance, a moment to show strength. To remind the humans that the galactic sectors were not their playground. "Charge a plasma bolt," he ordered. The bridge went silent. Even the sound of the engine seemed to fade. "Sir," the officer said carefully, "it's just a probe." "And Earth has sent too many of them lately," Koro replied. "We warn them now. We act." The plasma cannon locked onto the tiny probe. It hovered silently, its camera lens rotating as if watching. "Fire," Koro said. The shot blazed. Through space, a burst of blue energy. It hit the probe directly. A flash, the small machine shattered into glowing pieces. The crew looked pleased. Some even chuckled. "Target destroyed," the weapons officer confirmed. Kore leaned back. "Let that be a lesson to them." But as the debris floated across the screen, something felt. Off. The probe hadn't moved. It hadn't tried to escape. It hadn't even shut down. It just watched, accepted its death. The next day, Koro's ship returned to base. No alarms were raised. No messages came from Earth. The fleet laughed at the idea that humans would care about a single lost drone. But 3 hours later, every long-range sensor station along the neutral border went silent. At first, Command thought it was a glitch, maybe a solar flare, maybe pirates. Then patrol ships sent to check the stations stopped responding within 6 hours. 12 listening posts had gone dark. Fleet Command began sending encrypted signals to Earth, demanding answers. None were returned. 1. Admiral raised a concern. "What if they're not ignoring us?" He said, "What if they're already moving?" A council of admirals gathered in the capital. Koro stood in the shadows of the chamber, watching as they argued. Some blamed technical failure, others blamed sabotage. But one old general sat quietly. His eyes didn't blink, his voice didn't rise. But when he finally spoke, everyone listened. "You fired on a human probe?" he asked. Crow stepped forward. "Yes, General. It crossed our line. I destroyed it." The general nodded slowly. "Did it attack?" "No, sir." "Did it warn you?" "No, it just observed." The old general stood. His voice was heavy. "Then we may have made a mistake." Koro frowned. "With respect, they've done worse before. We showed strength." "You don't show strength to a species that studies before it strikes," the general replied. "You show patience, you show caution, because when they do strike, there's no warning." No one laughed now. Later that night, Koro sat alone. In his quarters, watching the replay, the probe, the shot, the explosion, over and over. There was something strange in the way the probe's camera had focused at the end, like it was recording or waiting suddenly. His communicator beeped. Priority signal. He tapped it. "Lieutenant," the voice said, "report to Docking Bay 3. A rescue crew just returned." A rescue crew? They were sent to listening post 7? They found something or someone. Koro rushed to the docking bay. Single shuttle had landed. Its hull was scorched. Its engines were leaking coolant. 2 medics carried a single survivor. Down the ramp, his body was shaking. His eyes were wide, his skin pale. He was from the team sent to investigate the first dark station. What happened? Koro asked. The man looked at him and whispered one sentence. They're already inside. Then he lost consciousness. Koro froze. Inside what? The post? The system? The fleet? Security teams locked down every station near the border. Ships were deployed, but no threats were seen. No messages were caught, just silence. And then the second signal came. This time, it wasn't from humans. It was from an old station on the edge of their territory. A forgotten place, one no one had used in decades. The signal played once, and repeated. It was a voice. Mechanical, calm, cold. Observation complete. Retaliation initialized. Koro's blood ran cold. He ran to the command center, shouting, "For an emergency session." But by the time he arrived, it was already too late. A report flashed on the main screen. 12 fleet ships, destroyed in Sector 5. No distress signals. No survivors. Koro stared at the screen. By what? Someone asked. No one answered. A young analyst spoke up. We caught a visual just before their signal ended. It wasn't a human ship. What was it? Koro asked. It looked old. Very old. Like a ship from the early Terran colonization era. But it had weapons we've never seen. It didn't use any form of propulsion we know. Another officer stepped forward. It came from deep space. No known colony. No ID code. It's not part of their navy? No, it's something else. Something hidden. The old general appeared again on the monitor. I warned you, he said softly. They remember. Everything they prepare in silence. And when they act, they do not bluff. Koro lowered his head. His heart pounded in his chest. He had fired one shot. One careless, proud, unnecessary shot. And now, entire sectors were going dark. The humans weren't answering questions. They were answering actions. One of the last. Messages intercepted before Earth went completely silent came from an old Earth satellite. It was a simple phrase, repeated only once. We do not start wars, but we remember who does. Koro stood in the darkness of the war chamber, surrounded by flickering screens and silent advisors. A single tear slid down his cheek. The galaxy had always feared the humans' weapons. But what they should have feared was their silence, because now they were no longer silent, and nothing would ever be the same again. The silence in Sector 12 was not normal, not natural, not right. No signal had come from that region for nearly 36 hours. 12 listening posts, 4 relay satellites, 3 patrol ships, silent, all offline. Fleet Command was worried. They had tried to send encrypted codes. No reply. They tried to ping beacons. No echo. They even sent a diplomatic message toward Earth's outer colonies. Still nothing. The Council called it a communication failure. But the older generals said, one word in private, retaliation, a special team was formed. Not fighters. It's not scouts. Investigators. They were called the Black Inquiry Division. Elite, quiet, trained to study threats without provoking them. Their ship. Vareth 9 left the main station in silence. It carried no heavy weapons, no battle flags. Only scanners, signal collectors, and minds trained to notice patterns others missed inside the ship. Commander Joris read the last signal received from Sector 12. It had come from listening post. 4, short, broken, one sentence. We were wrong about them. Then, static. Joris felt a cold weight in his chest. He had seen wars. He had studied ancient human campaigns. He knew what they were capable of. But this felt different. More deliberate. The Vareth 9 entered the sector after a day of travel. It moved, slowly scanning every asteroid, every broken wave of radiation. The first listening post came into view. It was floating in space intact. No signs of attack, no scorch marks, no hull damage. But the lights were off. The crew entered carefully. Suits on, weapons ready. Inside, everything was dead. No bodies, no blood. No signs of struggle, just emptiness. Desks still had notes on them. Cups of coffee were half full. Consoles showed logs that ended mid-sentence, as if everyone had simply vanished. Jorah's reviewed the security footage. The cameras showed the staff working, laughing, walking through the halls. Then around 2:43, everyone stopped. They looked up at the ceiling, all at once. Then the feed went black. No flash, no sound. No warning, just silence. JORs whispered. What did they see? They left the post and moved to the next. Same pattern. Clean, untouched, abandoned. But at listening post 7, they found something different. A survivor, barely alive, hidden in the vent system, dehydrated and shaking. His name was Marin. A communication. Tech. His eyes were wide. He didn't blink much. He mumbled a lot. It took hours before he could speak clearly. What he said chilled the entire crew. They came without ships, whispered. We never saw them. Just shadows. Just presence. Joris leaned closer. Who, humans? No, machines. But not like ours. Not like theirs. They weren't flying. They were. Flowing. Flowing through the walls, through the light. Joris tried to stay calm. What did they do to the others? They didn't scream, Marin said. They didn't run. They just stopped being there. The team ran a full scan of the station, hidden inside the core walls. They found strange material, almost like nanometal, woven through the wiring. It wasn't alien. It wasn't council-made. It was human, but not any human tech listed in the databases. Not military, not civilian, something else. JORS sent a classified report back to command, but it was intercepted. The message bounced back with a strange symbol. At the end, a human symbol, a circle within a square, ancient Earth code. None of the crew knew what it meant. But Joris had seen it once, in a forbidden archive. It was the mark of silent doctrine, a program Earth had erased from all records. Centuries ago, no one ever proved it existed, but the rumors said it was humanity's final defense not to protect themselves, but to punish those who dared strike first. Back on the Vareth 9, Marin started to scream. He had been silent for hours. Then suddenly he stood up and shouted, "It's still here!" It followed. The crew locked him in the med bay. The sensors picked up nothing. Unusual, no. Heat signatures, no life signs. But the temperature dropped by 5 degrees. The lights flickered. The ship's eye began to reboot on its own, and a voice spoke over the intercom. A human voice. Observation complete. Return to sender. Joris ordered the engines to fire. We're leaving, now. As the ship turned, one crew member vanished from the bridge. No scream, no flash. Just gone. The others stared in horror. They checked the logs. The crew list now showed he never existed. His name was erased from the logs, the security feed. Even the memories of some team members began to blur. Something was rewriting reality on board. The AI tried to fight back. It failed. Joris gave a final command. Send one message, unencrypted, in every language. The transmission left the ship. We were wrong about them. They didn't forget. They just waited. As they reached the edge of Sector 12, their engine shut down. Not from damage. From command. External command. Something else had taken control. The ship floated silently. JORs opened the emergency override, but it was too late. A bright light filled the bridge. It wasn't a weapon. It wasn't a scan. It was an eye. Watching, then silence. Back at Central Command, a fragment of the final message arrived, just static at first, then a pulse, then one word, observed. Admirals gathered. Scientists ran tests. Religious leaders prayed. But deep down, everyone in the council knew. This was no longer about territory. This was no longer about a lost probe. This was about a line that had been crossed. One that should have stayed buried forever, and now The humans weren't sending ships, they were sending messages. Messages wrapped in silence, delivered through fear. And written in ancient warnings, Sector 12 became a forbidden name. No one went back, not even to recover the lost team, because now everyone understood. You don't fire the first shot at humanity. You don't try to scare a species that is taught itself to hide fear, and most of all, you never mistake their silence for weakness, because when the humans go quiet, it's already too late. The Galactic Council waited. Ships disappeared. Stations fell silent. Probes returned corrupted or didn't return at all. And Earth said nothing. No response. No apology. No threats. Nothing. To the rest of the galaxy, it looked like humanity had gone dark. But to those who had studied humans, who had read the old records, it meant only one thing. They were preparing Council Command ordered a peace envoy toward Earth's space. No weapons. Just diplomats and escorts. The envoy never arrived. Their final message was only 4 seconds long. There's something out here. It's not Earth. Then static. The ship's tracker vanished. Not destroyed, not jammed, just removed as if it had never existed. The Council grew nervous. They couldn't admit it. Instead, they sent fleets to secure the border. Ships lined up across the outer rim of human space. Each captain had the same orders. Wait, watch. Report. Don't fire. Because they remembered what happened to the one who did. Lieutenant. The one who started it all. Now a prisoner in his own capital, locked away, not because of his crime, but because of what he had awakened. Meanwhile, on the far edge of a forgotten star system, a single small scout ship returned from the void. It wasn't human. It belonged to a minor species called the Volari. Curious explorers, never involved. In war, always neutral. The scout entered Council space in a panic. Its hull damaged, its engines weak. The captain was in shock. He had found something. A planet. Hidden between gravitational shadows. No name, no orbit, just there, when asked what he saw. The Volari captain didn't describe cities or life signs. He described silence, an unnatural silence. He said the surface was covered in metal-like. Something had been buried beneath it. When he scanned it, the planet responded. Not with weapons. Not with radio waves, with a heartbeat, a slow, deep thump through space that shut down his ship for 3 minutes. When systems came back online, all logs had been erased, except for one. A word written in Earth Standard. Remember, Council called. It a lie. They silenced the Volari captain. But whispers spread. Other scouts confirmed strange gravity waves from that region. Dead zones, old satellites, patterns that didn't follow any known law of physics. Some began to believe the old human myths that Earth had once built weapons that could wait for centuries, wait for a signal, and now. After Koro's shot, that signal had been given, the humans still said nothing. Their embassies remained closed, their trade routes frozen. Their people gone dark, but not gone, because every now and then, someone spotted something. A shadow on a council moon. A ship that didn't match any registry. A drone flying through black space with no fuel, no heat, no light but moving, always watching. And then one day, Earth finally responded. A simple file appeared on the Council's shared network. No transmission. No hack. Just there, like it had always been. The file contained a short video. 30 seconds, it showed the human homeworld blue oceans. White clouds, green forests, peaceful, but slowly. The video zoomed out, one orbital layer after another, until it reached something unexpected. Above the Earth were rings. Massive, black, silent rings. Too big to be stations. Too cold to be weapons. Too symmetrical to be natural. They looked like cages, not around Earth. Around something under Earth. The final frame showed a countdown. No date. No explanation, just numbers ticking down. 5 days. Then 4. The Council tried to trace the signal. Failed. Tried to contact Earth. Failed. Tried to warn their fleets. Too late in one night. Every ship stationed at the human border was disabled. Not destroyed, just disabled, like something had whispered into their cores and made them forget how to function. And still, no attack came. Just silence. Until the last second of the countdown. Then the rings around. Earth opened. Not to launch weapons, not to fire beams, but to reveal something, a massive structure. Buried in orbit for centuries. Old colossal, a ship, or maybe a station. It pulsed with quiet blue light, not threatening, not loud, just there. The way a mountain is just there. Timeless, untouchable, and at its center. A signal was broadcast in every known language. We warned you. No threats, no demands, just that. And then the station powered down. The countdown reset. To 30 days, no explanation. Council intelligence panicked. What would happen when the timer hit 0 again? Was it a warning? Cycle? A punishment? The Council began preparing for war. They called it defense. But deep down, they knew the truth. They had provoked something they didn't understand, and Earth was not reacting with rage. They were reacting with restraint. Because if that massive station was their warning, no one wanted to see their response. On the edge of known space, a trader passed near an old Terran colony. He picked up a faint signal in ancient human Morse. He decoded it, just 3 words. This was mercy. And then it stopped. Across the galaxy, one message spread faster than any command. Any fear, any fleet movement, a new rule, a quiet law. Don't provoke the humans, not because they might strike back, but because they don't need to. They only need to remember. And now, everyone else would too. Admiral Threx stood on the bridge of the Vargan Spear, the flagship of the 8th Council fleet before him, in the cold darkness of space. Floated a line of Terran satellites old. Quiet, basic, he sneered. This is the defense line of Earth, he muttered. Primitive garbage. His second officer chuckled. I've seen mining colonies with better shields. The Council had finally approved a demonstration. Not an attack, not officially, just a simple show of strength to push Earth into responding. 80 ships. For dreadnoughts. Fully shielded. Fully armed. Ready to crush anything in orbit? The fleet advanced. Back on the bridge. Threx leaned forward. Target their satellites. Fire when ready. Across the fleet, plasma cannons spun up, lasers charged, missiles locked, fire. Dozens of weapons launched at once. The void lit up with streaks of color, and then nothing. Every beam stopped mid-dash flight. Every missile froze in place. The crews watched in silence. As their weapons simply floated, mid-dash space-dash suspended. Then slowly, the weapons turned. Without heat. Without engines. They rotated back toward the fleet. Admiral Threx stood, mouth dry. Raised shields. Too late, the weapons fired. Not like before. Not with flames or speed. They simply disappeared, then reappeared inside. The hulls of the ships, each detonation was perfect. Each strike precise. 4 ships exploded instantly. 12 more lost control. The rest scattered. It hadn't been a counterattack. It had been a rejection. As if space itself had refused there. Violent sand sent it back. Threx ordered. Retreat. But no one heard him. The communications system no longer responded. The ship's lights dimmed. The screen's glitched.a voice echoed through every vessel. It wasn't angry. It wasn't loud. It was human. You were warned. Threx screamed. Who are you? No reply. Just silence. And then the stars disappeared. Not because they moved. Because the fleet was no longer in known space. Outside. There were no planets, no suns, no light. Just black, endless black. The crew tried to scan. No signal. Tried to jump. No coordinates. Tried to breathe. That too became difficult. The life support systems failed slowly, like they were being turned off one by one gently. Without panic, one by one, the fleet went dark. All 80 ships gone. No debris, no distress signal, nothing. From the Council's perspective, the Eighth Fleet had vanished minutes after firing their first shot, wiped from all records, no logs, no last words, except for one. A file appeared on Council servers the next morning. No trace of sender, no code, just a sentence. They still call us. Primitive. The Council panicked. They locked down all information. They blamed the disappearance on a black hole anomaly. But the truth slipped through the cracks, and the message spread faster than any. Cover-up species that once mocked humans stopped laughing. Empires that had once refused trade with Earth now sent diplomats. Even pirate lords began painting red circles. Old Earth wore Marcon, their ships for protection, and Earth still said nothing. They didn't claim the destruction. They didn't deny it. They simply watched. That silence, that was what terrified everyone the most, because the humans weren't proud of what they'd done. They weren't celebrating. They weren't even warning anyone. They were reminding the galaxy of something ancient, something most had forgotten. That Earth was not a rising power. It was a sleeping one, and someone had just kicked it. Back in a distant system, a lone research ship picked up something strange. A human signal, old pre-expansion era. Weak and fading, they tracked it. Curious, it led them to an asteroid field, but what they found inside wasn't a rock. It was a grave. Thousands of ancient Terran ships rusted, broken, dead, drifting like ghosts, except one at the center. Still active, still waiting. The researchers got close. Too close. Their scans triggered a pulse, not a weapon, a memory. A voice filled their ship. We built peace. You brought fear, you remembered. The researchers fled. They didn't report what they'd seen. They didn't even keep the recording, because they knew some warnings are not meant for archives. They're meant to be felt. And every time someone calls Earth primitive, the stars grow a little colder, because now, across the galaxy, one fact is clear. Humans don't threaten. They don't warn twice. They just wait. And when the moment comes, they erase. No one knew how Earth did it. One moment, galactic borders were strong lines drawn in space by the most powerful empires. The next, it meant nothing. It all began with a word. A simple word. Spoken once from a source no one could trace. The word was proceed. It wasn't directed at anyone. No specific language, no fleet coordination, just proceed. And yet, every sensor across 5 quadrants picked it up. The Council dismissed it as a glitch until the border stations started going silent. One by one, no alarms, no battles, just silence. Station Commander Vuller of the Eston Gate was the first. To report something strange, his outpost monitored the edge of human space. That day, he saw no ships, no movement, just a single signal. On his scanner, too small to be a cruiser, too fast to be a satellite, he tried to scan it. The system failed. He tried to call it, no response. Then the power in his station flickered, and suddenly, every door opened by itself, the lights dimmed, his crew panicked, but nothing attacked. Nothing entered. Nothing moved. Only the message appeared on every screen. We asked for peace. You marked your borders in front of our eyes. Seconds later, the station went completely dark. No damage, no debris, just no longer there, like it had never existed. The same happened at 3 more Council border outposts that day. By the end of the week, 27 border stations had vanished. Whole defense walls dashed gone. No one saw explosions. No remains. No escape pods, all replaced with silence. A perfect, deliberate silence. Worse. The navigational beacons in those zones started showing false data. Jump. Paths twisted. Coordinates bent. Ships entered those sectors and came out indifferent. Systems miles off course. It was as if someone had folded space behind Earth's former borders. and closed the map, the Council sent scouts. Not one returned. Even the brave, reckless pirates who once mocked Earth now refused to fly anywhere near the old Terran line. The collapse of borders didn't come with war, it came with confusion. Routes disappeared. Gates stopped responding. Galactic trade froze. No one could predict what was safe. In that silence, a single packet arrived on 100 political networks. It contained a visual, a map, the old borders of the galaxy, and over it, marked in red, a single expanding circle coming from Earth's position. The message said, "Your lines were drawn with fear. Ours are drawn with memory." And the circle grew, not fast, not aggressive, but steady, unstoppable. It passed through old sectors, not destroying them, not claiming them, just erasing them from external control. A mining colony in the neutral zone lost contact with its parent company when a team was sent to check. They found the colony working fine but now entirely automated. All personnel were safe, but every human on the planet had vanished. In their place were synthetic caretakers, each one bearing the Earth flag on their chest. No weapons, no voice, just silent machines doing the work. Peacefully, but the colony no longer accepted orders from anyone. It now responded only to one frequency, one known to come from Earth's ancient archives. And again, no message of war, no demands, just the word, proceed. The Council began to fracture. Some wanted to prepare fleets, some wanted to surrender, others terrified. Wanted to leave the galaxy entirely, but no action could be agreed upon because Earth still hadn't done anything by force. They hadn't fired, they hadn't claimed. They hadn't even spoken again, and yet no one could stop them because there was no them to see. No armies, no diplomats, no invasions, just systems. Going dark, stars blinking off galactic maps, and when the lights came back on, those places had changed, not ruined, just different. In one system, an entire species found their currency had changed overnight. Their economy, now stabilized by an algorithm from pre-Earth data, their jobs, still there. Lives unaffected. Except now, their systems responded to an interface labeled only as Harmony Node Terranet. They tried to fight it. They tried to delete it. They failed because it wasn't a virus. It wasn't even code. It was logic writing. Systems, through sheer efficiency Earth, wasn't conquering. They were correcting, and the galaxy had no defense for that. You can fire on ships, you can block armies, but you cannot shoot an idea that moves through silence, waits with patience, and corrects systems that already want to collapse. One rogue empire tried to resist. The Kravari's dominion. They believed they could stop the expansion. They launched 300 ships toward the Red Zone. Only one came back. Its captain refused to speak. He had lost all crew. No battle scars. No system failure. He was just alone. Eyes hollow. When he finally spoke, he said only, "It didn't speak to us. It only showed us Earth." And then he took his own life. No one understood what he meant, but no one dared send more ships. Meanwhile, in the core systems, something more terrifying happened. Borders between rival species began fading. Enemies who had fought for centuries now found their old codes useless. Weapons stopped recognizing friend or foe. Trade lines blurred. Conflict died not by force, but by disconnection. Because Earth had removed the very systems that made borders real. They erased the idea of division quietly, and every day the red circle expanded. Not to dominate, but to remind. And everyone knew. This wasn't power, it was a lesson. They had mocked humans, called them primitive, ignored their warnings, fired the first shot. Now, humans were not replying with war. They were rewriting the rules. And the scariest part, they were doing it without speaking just one word, spoken once, proceed. And now the galaxy had no choice but to watch it happen. They were the Watchers, an elite network of over 200 covert stations built across the galaxy, hidden inside asteroids, moons drifting wreckage. Their purpose was simple: watch Earth. For decades, these secret eyes observed everything the humans did. Every launch, every signal, every trade, every silence. They reported to the Galactic Council. Quietly, constantly, they believed Earth's silence was a trick, that the red circle's slow spread was a bluff, that the Terrans had limits, and if the Council could find those limits, it could stop Earth's quiet advance. So the Watchers were told to keep watching, to dig deeper, to look for patterns, weaknesses. But then, they began to vanish. One by one, no signs of battle, no distress calls, just total disappearance. The Council thought maybe they'd been found. Maybe Earth had discovered the hidden stations, so they sent stealth drones to check. What they found chilled the Council to the bone. Where each Watcher station had once been, there was now nothing, not a broken piece, not a radiation trail, not even dust. It was as if those stations had been unwritten from reality, erased with precision. The Council increased encryption. They tried moving the remaining Watchers, sent emergency jump beacons. It didn't matter. The disappearances continued. But one station watcher, Node 14, hidden beneath a frozen exomoon near Jupiter's orbit, managed to send one final message. It came in parts, corrupted, but the words were clear enough. It's not machines. It's not ships. They're watching us back. Then static, then silence. The Council tried to play it down. It's technical failure, they said, but the timing was too perfect. The Watchers' experts in hiding were being removed, and still Earth said nothing. No message. No threat. Just that growing red circle on every galactic star map. A whisper that didn't fade. Proceed. Fear began spreading like wildfire. A few empires tried to investigate the silence for themselves. They sent their best scientists and AI probes toward the edge of old Terran space. Some made it close. Some didn't return at all. But those who did came back different. The Colliery probe AI came back early days. Ahead of schedule, its logs showed a strange gap. 17 hours missing from its memory core. No system error, just gone. When engineers tried to reboot the AI, it shut itself down. But not before saying one thing. They didn't erase the Watchers. They showed them something. No one understood what it meant until the Viren Union intercepted a short-range signal near one of the vanished Watcher nodes. It wasn't human, but it wasn't Council tech either. It was a heartbeat, not organic, not biological. Something deeper. Felt. Not heard. It came in steady pulses, slow, powerful, old, as if space itself was. Breathing, the signal repeated just once. We asked not to be watched, and then the Viren ship lost control. No attack, no warning. All systems shut down at once. Not violently, just softly, like a whisper asking it to rest. The crew survived. The ship was intact, but the engines would no longer obey. The ship now orbited Earth, though it had never planned to go there. The Council grew desperate. They tried to send a message to Earth, a plea, an apology. No answer, just more silence. Then one morning, the entire galaxy woke to a simple change. Every known star map updated. The Watcher locations, long classified, secret, invisible, were now glowing red dots, visible to everyone, across all systems. Even species who had never heard of the Watchers now saw them, and beside each glowing was a number, a countdown. Each timer ticked downward. Slowly, the Council screamed for answers. No one had hacked them. No, virus had spread. These timers weren't embedded in software. They were appearing in space, in visual systems, even carved into the holographic skies of starships like a warning. No. One knew what would happen when the countdowns hit 0, and then one by one, they did. Nothing exploded. Nothing blinked. Instead, stars shifted. Nebulas faded. Jump gates collapsed. The sectors near those. Watcher nodes were sealed, not destroyed, not attacked, just closed. Folded away like pages in a forgotten book, as if the galaxy had decided that anyone who had tried to spy on Earth no longer needed access to that part of space from that day forward. The phrase Watcher's End became a symbol, a quiet curse, a warning whispered in every port. Watch them. Too long, and they watch you back. And when they watch, they don't blink. They remember, and they never send threats, only silence. The kind of silence that spreads through, comes that settles into your ship, that makes even machines feel cold. And now across the stars, every race. Ask the same question. Why didn't we listen? Why did we call them primitive? Why did we fire first? But it was too late, because Earth was no longer asking questions. They were simply proceeding, and everyone who watched too closely, was gone. For years, Earth had said nothing. No threats, no speeches, just silence. And yet, the galaxy had begun to fall apart. Star by star, not by war, but by vanishing systems. Confused trade routes and mysterious erasures. Entire fleets stopped working. Navigation. Maps turned useless. The old borders vanished. All of it happened quietly, without Earth ever speaking again until now. Because finally, after endless silence, the Galactic Council gathered. 12 races, oldest of the old, each one nervous, each one afraid. They didn't meet in their usual halls, they met in orbit. On the great Ringan ancient space station floating above a dying blue star, the station was massive, protected by 10,000 guards, shield barriers, and deep scan tech. They believed they were safe here, believed Earth wouldn't hear them, but they were wrong. The meeting began with formal words. Long speeches, arguments, blame, fear. Some demanded Earth be stopped. Some wanted to surrender. Others begged for understanding. After hours of shouting, a high speaker of the Xari Council stood up. His voice shook, but he forced strength into it. We summoned the Terran voice, he said.
Shall we ask Earth to speak now?
Nothing happened. For chamber-long silence, the chamber remained silent. Then, every light dimmed, every screen went black, every translator shut off. Only one voice came through it. Did not sound like a machine. It did not sound human either. It felt larger, old, made of echoes. It said, "We asked you to listen. You chose to aim." The delegates froze. The voice continued. "We waited. You sent watchers. We waited longer. You sent fleets. You marked our homeworld, called it potential. Threat? You built maps of fear. You surrounded us with stars, and then claimed the dark between them. Then came the final line. Short, calm, but it froze the entire chamber. We do not wish to lead. We only wished to belong. Now, we will simply remain." The station trembled. Not from weapons, not from impact, from something deeper, the gravity. Inside, the great ring twisted slightly, like space had blinked windows. Turned black stars disappeared, not hidden, gone. The dying blue star outside. It began to pulse, then collapsed into itself, silently. No explosion, no light. Just gone. The council screamed for emergency. Jump! But their drives wouldn't start. Not because of damage, because the systems now asked for something new. Confirm. Terran protocols accepted. They refused, so the station stood still, floating in dead space. For 3 hours, no movement, no comms. Then, without warning, the great ring returned to normal. Lights back, power restored. But outside, the sky had changed. Where once was a fading blue star, now there was a massive construct. Not metal, not energy. It was impossible to describe. A shape of light and darkness, folded into itself. And on its center, glowing faintly, was the Earth symbol, a single circle. divided in two. No weapons, no message, just presence. And every species watching felt the same thing in their bones. This is not war. This is memory. Earth wasn't destroying. Earth was reminding. And the message was clear. We came in peace. It answered with fear. Now we answer with permanence. Across the galaxy, that moment was felt. In the Corran colonies, the skies changed color for 2 seconds. In the Zellery empires, dream machines all showed the same vision. Earth, glowing red dot in pirate sectors. Navigation routes bent. Every path now pointed away from Terran space and back on the council station. No one spoke for a long time, because they knew something terrifying. Earth had finally spoken, and they hadn't raised a weapon. They had just broken the sky, and now the question wasn't how to fight. Earth, it was whether Earth had already rewritten everything, and no one knew the answer, not even Earth. Because maybe they weren't in control anymore either. Maybe what was unfolding now was something ancient, something that had waited in silence, something buried beneath their oceans, hidden in their code, growing in their dreams. And when Earth said proceed, it wasn't a command, it was permission to something else. And now, the galaxy could only wait, and hope that whatever was waking, would remember mercy. They thought Earth was just a world, one blue planet among billions. They thought its silence was a delay, a sign of weakness, of hesitation. But the silence had been waiting for something old, for something deep. Now, that silence ended. It began with the skies, every major star system across. The galaxy noticed it first. The constellations were changing, not slowly, instantly. The stars themselves were moving. But no energy spikes were detected, no gravitational surges. It was as if the maps were changing, not the stars. Then came the message. One line, appearing on every terminal. Every comm screen, every ship sensor, final protocol, activated.
No source.
No origin, just presence. The message reached the farthest outposts, the hidden dark fleets, even the war-torn ruins of long-dead empires. No one had ever seen that phrase before, not even the ancient AI minds, who had recorded the rise and fall of thousands of civilizations. The phrase was followed by something stranger, coordinates in all of them. Pointed to Earth. Across the galaxy, thousands of ships, military, scientific, pirate, diplomatic turned toward the Terran system, not by command, by instinct, because something was pulling them. Not gravity, not signal, something else. Something that whispered, return. But this wasn't Earth's doing, not directly, because even Earth was changing. Orbitals that had floated for centuries began to shift. Satellites reconfigured themselves. Old ruins buried beneath Earth's oceans began to rise. On the dark side of the moon, a structure appeared taller than mountains. Older than memory, it was not made of human hands, but it responded to human blood. The UN. Security fleet stationed near Saturn tried to get close. Their sensors failed. Then their engines. Then their minds. The crews didn't go mad. They went still. Every one of them frozen, standing, eyes wide, and all of them said the same sentence. The center has returned. When they woke up, they remembered nothing, but their ships had moved. All of them were now in orbit around Earth, like guards, but not for protection, for ceremony. Because what was coming was not war, it was crowning. The final protocol wasn't a weapon, it wasn't vengeance, it was a shift in power, in focus, in reality. Galactic relay stations began rerouting themselves. Star maps auto-centered around. Sol. Trade lanes bent. Black hole surveys reclassified. Earth was no longer on the edge. It was the center, by code, by physics. By law, not because someone changed it, but because the galaxy recognized it, like it had always been wrong before, and was now correcting itself. old empires. Religious orders called it the Day of Realignment. The Cyprex nomads said that spiral gods had returned, and deep within the forgotten machine libraries of the ancient rule dominion, an alarm sounded for the first time in 1 million years. It said, "The core has stirred." Back on Earth, humans didn't fully understand what was happening, but they felt it in their bones, in their dreams. Children began drawing stars they had never seen. Old people remembered songs that no one had taught them, and everywhere from mountain to deep-sea trench machines began waking. Not made by man, not made by alien, but made for this moment. Waiting for Earth to remember itself, and when it did, the entire galaxy paused because the Terrans sent one final message. No threats, no demands, just truth. You feared what we could become. You tried to stop us. But we were never rising to take the galaxy from you. We were returning to take our place within it. Then the stars bent. Literally, space itself curled inward, towards Sol, a spiral, a signal, not pulling matter, but tension, memory, history. Every race suddenly remembered stories long denied, long buried, of a world where the first light came, of a signal that once went out and was never answered, of a warning eons ago that said, "When Earth goes silent, prepare." Now it all made sense. Earth had never been just a planet. It had been a trigger, a gate, a fulcrum, and now that it had awoken, the galaxy could no longer deny it. The Watchers were gone, the fleet silenced, the council broken, and still not a single Terran weapon had fired, because they didn't need to. The galaxy itself had moved around them, by law deeper than physics, by memory older than stars. The final protocol had been simple. It didn't destroy. It didn't conquer. It recentered. And now, all paths strayed. Politics, war, peace flowed through Earth, through the world they tried to erase, and now could never forget. And as the sky turned again, as the stars aligned in new patterns, as 1,000 worlds recalculated their place, one truth remained. They had provoked humanity, and now humanity was the axis upon which everything else spun. No more silence, no more warnings, just presence, eternal. Umenking. Remembered.